Hey everybody, welcome to Scale Free. We're going to do a quick study on the last days, or the last hour, whenever the disciples brought up the last days in these epistles in the New Testament. You have to read in context what they're talking about and realize that they were talking about their generation. It was the last days started in their generation. So we're going to do this quick study. We're going to start in Acts 2, verse 13. And this is when people from all over the world who came on Pentecost, the day of Pentecost, and the disciples were speaking in tongues. Everybody was looking at them like, what's going on? Like, are they drunk or whatever? So we're going to start there because Peter ends up preaching and explains that what's going on is what Joel, the prophet Joel, was talking about. So starting in 13, it says, "Others mocking said, 'They are full of new wine.' But Peter, standing up with the 11, raised his voice and said to them, 'Men of Judea and all who dwell in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and heed my words. For these are not drunk.'" And I'm reading out of the New King James Version, so it might sound weird. So, "For these are not drunk, as you suppose, since it is only the third hour of the day. But this is what was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days, says God, that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh." I hear that all the time right now, but Peter is saying the day of Pentecost is what Joel was talking about. It says, "The last days, says God, that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your young men shall see visions. Your old men shall dream dreams." As you see, Peter was saying that the day of Pentecost is when the Spirit would be poured out on all flesh. So let's go to another verse. Hebrews 1, verse 1 to 2. "God, who at various times and in various ways spoke in time past to the fathers by the prophets, has in these last days spoken to us by his Son, whom he has appointed heir of all things, through whom also he made the worlds." That says right there, God, who spoke to the fathers through the prophets, has in these last days spoken to us by his Son, Jesus. We don't know who wrote Hebrews. Some people think it's Paul. But right there it says these last days. Let's go to another text. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 20 says, "He indeed was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you, who through him believe in God, who raised him from the dead and gave him glory, so that your faith and hope are in God." Right there it says manifest in these last days for you. They're talking, this is Peter talking to whoever he was talking to. Last times. In these last times, okay? Let's go to another one. Okay, 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. "Little children, it is the last hour, and as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now, many Antichrists have come, by which we know that it is the last hour." Apostle John explaining that it's the last hour. to other believers. Jude 1:17. But you, beloved, remember the words which were spoken before by the apostles of our Lord Jesus Christ. Remember the words that were spoken by the apostles of our Lord Jesus Christ. This is Jude talking to whoever he's talking to. And in this, you should read all of these epistles for yourself. But he's basically explaining how there's non-believers and evil people who are infiltrating the church. So right here, it says, how they told you that there would be mockers in the last time who would walk according to their own ungodly lusts. Okay, this is Jude saying this to the people, saying that, remember what the apostle said. These people, these mockers and scoffers who follow their own godly lusts are basically among you. Like, you need to watch out for them. So, let's go to that verse. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 3. Knowing this first, that scoffers will come in the last days, walking according to their own lusts. There it is. So, clearly in the New Testament and the scriptures, they're explaining that the last days were in their time. And that's not popular. You know, a lot of the doctrines and teachings nowadays is that we're in the last times, but the apostles have explained it, that the last days, or the last hour, the last times, the last time was in their time. I'm just going to do a series of these. I'll just pick a topic of last times, end times, eschatology, and I'll just share little blips here and there, do a little study. But yeah. All right. God bless.
Our battle is not against flesh and blood. Our battle is against the spiritual forces of evil.